You got guys that punch hard and hit hard, and you got guys that come out and win a few rounds. But nothing really was tough.
Okay. A lot of people are saying that Usyk heavyweight run isn't a lot of fighters at heavyweight, of course, because he only fought, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighters at heavyweight.
So again, I think Oleksandr Usyk is an exceptional fighter, but you need to match him with someone that can actually match his work rate. Okay, and for me, Andrei Kabayel could match his work rate. He's going to go to the body. He's going to follow a game plan.
Floyd Mayweather believes fans are too quick to crown new legends without looking at the full picture. He questions whether Oleksandr Usyk truly deserves the praise he's been getting. Floyd Mayweather never hesitates to remind everyone that he's the greatest. He says no fighter before or after him is better, and that includes Oleksandr Usyk. While fans call Usyk an all-time great, Floyd doesn't see it that way. Usyk may be talented, but Floyd believes his own legacy stands far above. He retired undefeated, made history in multiple weight classes, and dominated the sport for years. Usyk's opponents were never on the level Floyd faced. In Floyd's eyes, Usyk is overrated and nowhere near his level, whether in skill, legacy, or greatness.
At the end of the day, I'll let you know. There's no fighter that will ever be better than me. There's no fighter that wasn't better than me before me or after me or when I'm long gone. I'm the best.
Critics like Showbiz The Adult bring forward a compelling counter to the growing praise around Oleksandr Usyk. While many hail Usyk as an all-time great for his dominance in the heavyweight division, Showbiz questions whether his opponents were of a high enough caliber to support such claims. The argument hinges on the quality of competition. If the fighters Usyk defeated were not elite or in their prime, it weakens the weight of his victories. Apart from Tyson Fury, who is frequently mentioned as a legitimate top-level opponent, most of Usyk's adversaries lack the legendary status to elevate him into the same breath as historical icons like Ali or Holyfield.
That Usyk heavyweight run isn't a lot of fighters at heavyweight, of course, because he only fought, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighters at heavyweight. But they saying that it's full of quality, right? I want you to understand, full of quality. Witherspoon isn't an all-time great heavyweight. His brother, Tim Witherspoon, you can argue. But Chance Witherspoon, no. Derek Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not. He's a fantastic competitor, but if you look at who he fought and look at who he lost to, Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not. Dubois is not yet an all-time great heavyweight. Look at who he fought, who he struggled with, who he lost to. Dubois is not an all-time great heavyweight. So we're left with, when you say quality, we're left with Tyson the Gypsy King Fury and Anthony AJ Joshua. Now, if you guys think that AJ is an all-time great heavyweight, you can. I can understand that. I definitely can. There's an argument to be made. But Anthony Joshua, when you think about him and a lot of ops from other great heavyweights, Anthony Joshua lost to the likes of Ruiz, been knocked out by Ruiz, was knocked out by Dubois. Anthony Joshua, I'm not sure if you would consider him an all-time great heavyweight, but you can make an argument. Tyson Fury definitely can. So beating Tyson Fury twice is really Usyk's claim to fame. It's his thing. And
another angle from analysts is that Usyk's brilliance is best appreciated in the context of pound-for-pound rankings rather than all-time heavyweight legacy. They suggest he's a master technician who excels in footwork, defense, and ring IQ, making him a modern great. However, these analysts stop short of calling him an all-time heavyweight legend. They believe Usyk's greatness lies in his unique style and adaptability rather than in beating historically great opponents. Therefore, while he belongs on the list of top active boxers today, his place among boxing's immortals is still debatable.
But let's talk about Usyk. His performance was okay, that's number one. And many of you say, well, Usyk is a top 10 all-time great heavyweight. I don't agree. Because Usyk has only had like 7 heavyweight fights. It's very stacked within those 7 fights. But really, it's hard to put him past people who's had 30-plus, 40-plus fights and just had a career, a great all-time career at heavyweight. But what I can say is that Oleksandr Usyk is one of the greatest fighters, pound for pound, ever. and I put him on my Mount Rushmore today. So I don't have him as an all-time great heavyweight, but I do have him as an all-time great pound-for-pound fighter. And where do I put him there? Pretty damn high.
Critics also point out that many of Usyk's opponents have failed not because Usyk was invincible, but because they didn't utilize their skills effectively. Some had faced him more than once, but still struggled to adjust. Analysts mention that a fighter like Michael Hunter or even Joe Joyce, who showed better ring awareness and strategy, could have posed a better threat. One of the more insightful takes is that fighters who can match Usyk's movement and timing, something very few heavyweights train for, would bring out a more balanced contest. Instead, many walked into the ring without a clear plan, which made Usyk's job much easier.
A bit harsh on Daniel Dubois after the fight, and I actually think I'm, being fair in being a bit harsh on him. I think Daniel Dubois is an exceptional fighter, but there is something, where it's a confidence thing. And I think Oleksandr Usyk, give him a lot of credit. His jab looked exceptional on Saturday. And really that first, jab that landed on Daniel Dubois, it snapped his head back, and it was a powerful jab. It actually reminded me of Artur Beterbiev's jab when it's, when he really snaps it. And it was obviously a very powerful shot. So I think Daniel Dubois, I think he was confused by Usyk, and I think, he just looked so discouraged to me. Again, take nothing away from Oleksandr Usyk. I thought it was an exceptional performance. And to be honest, he really didn't even get out of second gear. And he didn't even need to. Now, obviously, there's a lot of, talk about what he's going to do next. In my opinion, really, there's only one fight that I would actually want to see. For me, that's Adrian Caballel. I think Adrian Caballel is someone that, number one, knows how to go to the body. I think if Oleksandr Usyk does have a weakness, it is the body. I think Adrian Caballel can follow a disciplined game plan. I think he's had a good string of wins, and I think his stamina is very good as well. I think Oleksandr Usyk is, winning a lot of these fights based on his speed, his stamina, and his footwork. These big heavyweights like Daniel Dubois, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, they cannot live with the pace that Usyk is setting. Daniel Dubois was knackered after 3 rounds in that fight. Okay, so they can't live with the pace. So again, I think Oleksandr Usyk is an exceptional fighter, but you need to match him with someone that can actually match his work rate. Okay, and for me, Adrian Caballel can match his work rate. He's going to go to the body. He's going to follow a game plan.
Showbiz emphasizes that placing Usyk alongside names like Muhammad Ali and Evander Holyfield is premature. He argues that Usyk doesn't yet have the resume to deserve a spot at that elite table. The greatest fighters in history are defined not only by their talent, but by the level of competition they overcame. According to Showbiz, even Usyk's best 5 opponents wouldn't have cracked the top 5 of Ali or Holyfield's list. This comparison draws attention to the gap between being great in your era and being one of the greatest of all eras.
Run. I cannot put that over the likes of Evander the Real Deal Holyfield fighting and beating the likes of Riddick Bowe, beating the likes of George Foreman. When he beat George Foreman was a killer. Beating George Foreman, beating the likes of Iron Mike Tyson. He was a huge underdog there. Beating the likes of Larry Holmes, beating Michael Moorer, Evander beating Michael Dokes, if you guys know who that is and how good of a fighter he was. Evander the Real Deal Holyfield has a different brain. I cannot put Usyk with his 5 heavyweight opponents over heavyweights, great heavyweights who made careers at heavyweight. We all know what Muhammad Ali did. Muhammad Ali beat the who's who of heavyweight greats. He fought them all and he beat them, okay? But then you have guys like Larry Holmes who have beaten the Ernie Shavers, who have beaten the Ken Nortons. You have the likes of Jack Johnson, which when you look at his box rec, you see his record and you don't know what he had to overcome to be so great.
When Daniel Dubois stepped into the ring with Usyk, many expected a war. However, post-fight analysis exposed numerous flaws in Dubois' preparation and execution. Observers noted issues with his footwork, lack of head movement, and failure to sustain pressure. This raised questions. Was Usyk truly dominant, or was Dubois simply underwhelming? While Usyk clearly won, some believe the fight didn't reflect Usyk's peak ability as much as it exposed Dubois' poor form that night. This weak performance reignited debates about the level of competition Usyk is facing.
I was very pro Dubois, and we were willing him on being a London boy and stuff like that. I thought he won the first round. thought Usyk won the second round, but I thought there was arguments for certainly giving Dubois the third round. But you could see, even if he was in the fight, things were starting to change after the second round. Usyk just had that extra little bit of class about him.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have him for any rounds. I just thought Usyk was so dominant, and that jab. And I'm not no boxing expert. I'm a casual. I'm a heavyweight casual. I just love to see big heavyweights box each other and knockouts. But I just feel like Usyk just was not even out of second gear. Like
didn't need to be.
He didn't need to be. He just had him on that jab, and he just kept plowing away. And whenever Dubois tried to land like a big shot, like one of those big punches that you talk about,
Renowned trainer Teddy Atlas gave a harsh breakdown of Dubois' approach against Usyk. He pointed out that despite already experiencing Usyk's power and movement, Dubois failed to adapt. His biggest critique was Dubois' lack of bodywork and overall game plan. According to Atlas, Dubois entered the ring without tactical preparation, treating the bout like a regular match rather than a strategic war. This opened him up to Usyk's rhythm and angles, making the knockout feel inevitable. Atlas's take adds to the narrative that many of Usyk's opponents are simply not ready for his cerebral style.
That's why I still thought with the game plan, how do you not see that and adjust 3 rounds later and do it again? But the more disturbing thing to me, Bud, was the lack of body work from Dubois. How do you not go to the body after what happened in the first fight? How do you not test that? He didn't throw one body shot maybe until the 3rd round, and maybe he threw a couple throughout the whole entire fight, or as long as it lasted into the 5th round. That was surprising to me, and I thought they dropped the ball big time with that as well.
You know, to that point, when he did throw the one body shot, I'm not going to get deep into this because there was only one, but it almost looked like it bothered Usyk.
Right?
You know what I mean?
And it looked like very similar to the first fight, close to that belt line, right?
Yeah. But and it was low. It was a little low. It was. There's no doubt about it. No doubt. But still, to your point, how do you leave that alone? And then I'm gonna early in the show when I broke down the Holloway and Poirier fight, I'm gonna go back to that real quick now. Holloway won because he had he won because he's great and because he's who he is and because of his makeup and his intestinal fortitude, his skills. I understand all that. But he won the way he won this fight because he had a great fight plan. To your point, to our point, Dubois had no fight plan. And to my point, I'm going to answer your question. You ask a brilliant question. See, the show is so much better with you. I'm sorry. I'm not knocking nobody. I'm not. I'm grateful for everyone, and everything the history of this show has been. But you open up conversation for me by bringing me down places that conversation needs to be opened up by asking certain things that are relevant in this sport. And what you brought up is how. And I'm going to answer that question. How do you not have a better fight plan? How do you not adjust when you made those mistakes in the 2nd and 3rd round that Dubois made, reaching in? You see the guy stepping out. You see he's setting traps. How do you not adjust to that? I'm going to answer it, bud. Part of the thing that is Dubois is that what I was explaining before about being awkward, about being, a guy that kind of like, he simply gets directed. He's the kind of guy like you direct him, you give him more confidence, and he's going to go. And he did that. He did it in the Herjavec fight. He walked through right hands. He did it in the Joshua fight. He took charge and he caught him. He did. But you can't do that in some fights.
Usyk's dominant performance over Daniel Dubois left many analysts impressed. Becoming a 3-time undisputed champion is no small feat, and it underlines his technical mastery. His ability to neutralize opponents with precision rather than power has become his trademark. However, even with all these accolades, comparisons to Muhammad Ali still come up short. Ali's cultural influence, Depth of competition and iconic fights across generations elevate him beyond just accomplishments. Usyk might be great in today's standards, but Ali remains a once-in-a-century figure whose shadow looms large over all discussions of boxing greatness.
Oleksandr Usyk just knocked out Daniel Dubois in the 5th round.
Oleksandr Usyk at his scintillating best with a left counter to the chin, and it was good night for Daniel Dubois, and all rise for the brilliance of Oleksandr Usyk.
Man, I can't lie to you, bro. That overhand left is different. Is different. He put it right on the... That's taking you out, bro. It's cooked. You're cooked. I'm not gonna lie, man. When it comes to heavyweight fighters, you have to put Oleksandr Usyk. He's top 10, bro. It might be crazy to say he top 5, but you gotta look at what he's doing, bro. When it comes to heavyweights, bro, he's different. He's different. It's just simple and plain. After this performance, where do you guys rank Usyk? All time, just strictly heavyweights. When it comes to heavyweights, where do you guys rank him all time? I'm not gonna lie, he's got to be top 10.
There are ongoing debates among boxing fans about who would win in a fantasy match between Muhammad Ali and Usyk. A surprising number believe that Usyk's unique southpaw movement and technical finesse would give Ali serious trouble. They argue that his unorthodox angles, feints, and discipline would have outsmarted even a prime Ali. This viewpoint, while still a minority, highlights the high regard Usyk's ring IQ has earned him. Still, others insist Ali's adaptability and warrior spirit would have eventually overwhelmed Usyk, especially in the later rounds. The clash between styles makes this an endlessly fascinating hypothetical.
We've got to have an awkward conversation. Prime Muhammad Ali versus Oleksandr Usyk. Who wins this fight? The tale of the tape, both men are pretty much just about the same. Not entirely sure on the birthday thing though, someone can go and fact check that one. And Usyk did actually weigh heavier than 220 pounds when he fought Daniel Dubois. But regardless of that, the two absolute legends of the sport, who would win this? Now, for me, if I'm honest with you, man, this is going to be a real hot take, but I think Usyk wins this, you know. I love Muhammad Ali. He's one of my favourite boxers of all time to watch. I can still go back and watch most of his fights now and enjoy them. He was definitely ahead of his time. But when I watch Oleksandr Usyk and the way that he boxes and, you know, the way that sort of Soviet style, that Ukrainian style now, has come on over the years, and the fact that most of Muhammad Ali's opponents were of a similar size, similar weight to him, whereas Oleksandr Usyk is giving away a lot of weight against a lot of his opponents and still coming out and dominating them. I think Usyk does it. I also, and this is going to be a bit of a hot take, I do think that the current day heavyweight division is probably better than it was when Muhammad Ali was around in terms of the actual caliber of fighters. I think the fact that fighters can only really fight twice a year at max in the heavyweight division now, especially when you're at the very, very top, whereas in Muhammad Ali's age, they could genuinely fight like 5-6 times a year sometimes. I think it speaks a lot to how the sport as a whole has really come on. But yeah, let me know your opinions in the comments. I know I'm going to get an absolute lashing for this one, but yeah, I think Oleksandr Usyk beats Muhammad Ali. I can't believe I've just said that, but hey ho, is what it is. I think Usyk's too technical, it's too good. I think he would actually knock Muhammad Ali out, especially given that Muhammad Ali had a tendency to pull backwards with his chin in the air, and I think Usyk probably finds that. Not to mention that the dimensions are pretty much the same, so Usyk isn't punching up or anything like that. Anyway, let me know in the comments. As always, like, favourite, similar, share. I'll appreciate it for more boxing content. Hit that follow button. Peace out.
Supporters of the Usyk versus Ali debate often point out the physical similarities between the two fighters. Both are close in height and weight and operate in the heavyweight division with speed and footwork rather than brute force. These comparisons extend beyond stats. Each man has redefined what it means to be a technical heavyweight. Ali's jab and lateral movement changed boxing in the 60s, just as Usyk's footwork and spacing are changing the heavyweight narrative today. Their ability to win without relying on power connects them in a way that few others can claim. Lennox Lewis, a legend in his own right, added his voice to the Usyk conversation by claiming that he could have defeated the Ukrainian if they had fought in the same era. Lewis believes modern heavyweights struggle with Usyk because they can't figure out his rhythm or break his flow. According to him, the key lies in cutting the ring, using size effectively, and targeting the body early. strategies Lewis was known for. His statement isn't just about confidence, it's about the tactical void in today's fighters. He insists that with proper planning, Usyk can be beaten. Whether he's right or not, his insight offers a valuable perspective on how the heavyweight division has changed.
How do you think Oleksandr Usyk would have done in your era, the era of Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson? How do you think he would have done against you and your contemporaries?
I would have to compare him to Evander Holyfield, and I think he would have done very well. Very well. I don't think he would have lasted against me because, you know, I throw a mean uppercut in there, and I noticed he gets caught with uppercuts. So he wouldn't have been able to stand up to my uppercuts.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.